Berger will be 5th position on the grid, along with Nando Weichselbaumer, the Austrian. And rounding out the top 10, we will have Chile's Agustin Sepulveda, Timofey Mikhailov of Malaysia, and then on the 5th row, it is Luka Horton of Bahrain and Alexander Deshkov of Bulgaria. So qualifying Heat C versus D, the drivers head out onto the circuit, and it's time for the equal expert chassis and the Vortex engines and the LeConte tyres to go to battle. Alexander Bogdanovic and Dino Storescu from Santino Panetta and Joel Pajola. Guillaume Bouzard and Nando Weichselbaumer from Agustin Sepulveda and Timofey Mikhailov. Luka Horton and Alexander Deshkov from Mieshuben and Mathilde Pats. Then Daniel Dalakian and Alta Dorisson. Megamo Suzuki and Harry Mamassi. Ethan Thorne and Bati Yildirim. Robert Pumalis, Elena Rolfson, Luis Sedeno, Henry Josselin, Ishan Madesh and Ruben Duvalle. So 24 competitors will take to the circuit for this one, and this is one of the 2 races that will determine who is going to be starting in pole position for the Academy Trophy final later today. The title fight will not conclude here, not the least because Arthur Dorisson has had a really tricky weekend, the man who won at Genk, so his championship lead is likely to disappear today, and he's going to have an interesting battle of it. Unfortunately, we don't seem to have Mathilde Pats, the German lady, out there on the course. That is very disappointing. So hopefully Mathilde will be able... Oh no, wait a minute. But that's the 516 rejoining towards the tail end of the field. That is... it might be the 518 actually going through. Is that Joel Pajola trying to get himself up to speed? Oh, no, it's the 516. It is Robert Pumalis, the Latvian. So the Latvian is trying to catch up to the rest of the field and rejoin, but his race has effectively already started. There's a handful of drivers who were late away, and now they're trying to get themselves back into the queue, but we are missing the German talent, Mathilde Pats. That is unfortunate. I was hoping she'd be able to conclude the weekend, but unfortunately, it looks as though she is already out of it. So the final turn, and it is Bogdanovic and Storescu. One of these... Oh, that's a stoppage. That's the 541. That is Ethan Thorne, the Peruvian. And we're going to go around again as a result. So Thorne is stopped out on the circuit. That's a real shame for the Peruvian. But as a result, we get a false start, and that is a bit of a save of grace for Robert Pumalis, the Latvian, because he can now catch up to the field. But Ethan Thorne, I'm afraid, is out of this race before it even begins. So everybody else now trying to make their way through into position. An extra formation lap called, of course. And as the youngsters make their way to the back straight, they are now all in position except for Robert Pumalis, who is now going to make his way onto the back of the train. And of course, this race will help to contribute to set the grid for the final. And if you get pole position for the final, you get 10 championship points, 9 for second, 8 for third, 7 for fourth, and so on, all the way down to 1 point for 10th place on the starting grid for the final. And as I mentioned before, the title cannot be won at the Academy Trophy here this weekend. It will go down to the wire at Le Mans in France in September. But who is going to be the new championship leader? And of course, with the previous winners yesterday being both in the next race, Thibaut Ramakers of Belgium and Matthias Orwela of Colombia, this race is going to have a completely new winner this weekend, whatever happens. So Bogdanovic would dearly love it to be him. Storescu would dearly love it to be him. And we've got another stoppage out on the circuit. Another kart has come to a stop before the start. Can't quite make out who that is. I think it might be Ruben Duvalle, but we are going to get underway. Racing! And we are to the first corner. Good start from Bogdanovic. Panetta trying to squeeze into second place through turn 1. A big run wide for Storescu, and that's going to drop him several places. So Santino Panetta, the Argentine, has come up to second place. Good work from Panetta. He kept it nice and cool off the start. And the only driver that did not come through on the start was the Mozambique Ruben Duvalle, so it was him that ended up off the road on the formation lap. So out in front, no problems at all for Bogdanovic. He leads from Santino Panetta as drivers are starting to make those overtakes on the inside line, trying to make up ground, and that's an off in the background. So that's not gone well at all. I couldn't quite make out who that was, unfortunately. I think it might have been the 516. Another off further round. Couple of drivers making moments there go very badly wrong. The 3 leaders have got clear of the rest of the pack. So it is Bogdanovic in front of Panetta and Pajola. Oh no, sorry, that is Bouzard in the 536 in third place. So it's Mikhailov in fourth. Then it is Mieshuben doing a great job in this one. 5th position for him now in front of Agustin Sepulveda. And then Horton, Storescu, Weichselbaumer, Dorisson, Mamassi and Pumalis. So Bouzard has managed to get himself at his second place now past Santino Panetta, and he gestures to the man behind, come on, let's go do this. And certainly in terms of the consistency from Genk to here in Cremona, Guillaume Bouzard is looking the best placed to take the lead of the title fight here at Cremona. He's in second place in this heat. He's got time to catch up to Alexander Bogdanovic, who's just done a 49.8 second lap out in front. So a perfectly good start to his final heat. Up to the inside, a big slide there from the 534 up to Dorisson, trying to make up some ground, and he's lost out in the end to Luca Horton of Bahrain. Starescu and Weichselbaumer both managing to get past them on that lap. Bit of a run wide there from the 553. So that, of course, is Luca Horton, the young man from Bahrain, trying his best to get it neat and tidy. There's still quite a few battles going on through this field. These drivers are trying to make the best of it on the back straight. He's coming towards us. We've got Nando Weichselbaumer about to lose ground on the inside line. That is the move from Dorisson. He gets past Horton. So Dorisson on the inside of Luca Horton, and further back, that's a lovely overtaking move from the recovering Joel Pajola. So Pajola gets the move there on Robert Pumalis, the man who almost missed the start. So Hadi Mamassi is in the mix of that lot as well. He's in front of them, 11th position for the Canadian at the moment. Two karts under investigation. One of them is Daniel Dalakian, the Armenian. And we've got an off. Further back, two karts coming off the road there in the final bend. And that is a big damage for Alexander Deshkov. Deshkov, the Bulgarian, I'm afraid is out. So Deshkov has come to a stop, and who is it that went off with him? Drop it to the back of the field. It was Henry Jocelyn. So Henry Jocelyn has recovered, but he's down in 20th. So that is very unfortunate for the British driver. And there's another kart under investigation. That is the 542 of Alexander Deshkov. So Deshkov under scrutiny just as much as his colleague, but there is a big problem now as this gaggle of karts is really starting to tighten up again. But look how quickly Guillaume Bouzard has caught up to Alexander Bogdanovic. So Alexander Bogdanovic is being caught by the Luxembourger Guillaume Bouzard. And Bouzard looking to try and take the lead. A 48.5 for him on the last lap compared to a 48.7 for Bogdanovic. New fastest lap then for Guillaume Bouzard. That's Hadi Mamassi. Oh, Hadi Mamassi was going so well this weekend. Looked very confident in that race, was making good progress, and I'm afraid his race has ended. And it looks like he's got into a bit of a tussle with Luis Sedano, and Ishan Madesh has had a problem on that last lap as well, so he's dropped back down the order. Very unfortunate for the Canadian Hadi Mamassi. Just like in Genk, when he showcased good skill, he wasn't able to really get his best out on the table here at Cremona. So Bogdanovic and Bouzard running through the first corner. Santino Panetta in front of the Malaysian Timothy Mikolov. We've had another retirement by the look of it. Off at the first turn. I think that is Luis Sedano. I think the Dominican has unfortunately retired from the race at turn one there. So a very bitterly frustrated Luis Sedano walks away. I've just seen him kicking the barriers in frustration. There he is. Poor Luis Sedano. And the Dominican driver very unhappy. So Guillaume Bouzard hunting down the race leader, Alexander Bogdanovic. And is he going to make his bid? Well, he needs to time it right because he's got a little bit of time to play with here. Up on the inside, he tried to have a look there, I think. But Bogdanovic had it well nailed. So out of the final bend and onto the home straight. Guillaume Bouzard looking strong here. Tucked in behind Bogdanovic. He's got 3 laps to get past him. Panetta is third. Mikelov, the Malaysian, in 4th place. Great work from Mies Huben. The Dutchman going strong. 6th place for Augustin Sepulveda. Then Starescu, Weichselbaumer, Dorisson and Horton. Excellent work so far. Bogdanovic, Guillaume Bouzard and Santino Panetta. Working very hard indeed as now Guillaume Bouzard is hustling in behind Alexander Bogdanovic. But the Slovenian still running well here. Looking good for a very sensible result. So Bogdanovic just keeping it nice and tidy in front of Guillaume Bouzard. Bouzard does not want to take too big a gamble here. 2nd place would do very well indeed for Guillaume Bouzard. And it would put him on 7 points net. So that would put him at the moment 5th position on the grid for the final. And that's not a bad place to be at all for Guillaume Bouzard. He can win from there or get a decent podium. So the Luxembourger doesn't want to take too many risks in trying to get past Alexander Bogdanovic, but if an opportunity opens up, you can bet your bottom dollar he's going to go for it. Bogdanovic drifts out wide. This is the moment, and it's a great opportunity for Bouzard. He knows it. He's going to slide down the back straight into the inside line. Perfect. Guillaume Bouzard takes the lead on the penultimate lap. Great work from the Luxembourger. So Guillaume Bouzard slides into the lead as Alexander Bogdanovic just got slightly wide through the pit path. And we're talking 2, maybe 3 centimeters at most, but it just throws you off your rhythm. And on this circuit, you go from having plenty of grip to no grip at all. Last lap, and Guillaume Bouzard, all he has to do is just keep it on the black stuff, preferably on the racing line, because if he comes slightly offline, we've already seen that from Bogunovic, it can be deadly and it can be costly. So Guillaume Bouzard having a great run to the flag here. And the young man from Luxembourg doing a sensational job. He runs out in front of Alexander Bogunovic with Santino Panetta running in third from Mikhailov, Huben and Sepulveda. But this has been a race of patience for Guillaume Bouzard. He really has worked hard to get to this position. He's been very careful, very focused. He's not overdriven. He's just got himself into a solid position. And now he will come out of the final turn. Great work from Guillaume Bouzard. He comes out of the final bend and he will take the victory in the last race of his weekend before the final. Guillaume Bouzard, victorious. Bogunovic in second. Panetta in a brilliant third. Great racing from the youngster from Luxembourg. Guillaume Bouzard, knitting one and purling one all the way through this race, just taking it nice and easy, and he will come into the pits at the end of the back straight. Great work from Guillaume Bouzard. Read the race perfectly, kept his cool, didn't push harder than he needed to, and he stole the win. He now finishes the heats on an accumulated 5 points. So that is great news for Guillaume Bouzard. That's a minimum of 4th place on the grid for the final. And of course, he's got to wait to see what will happen to the top 3 drivers in the rankings. Orjuela, Ramakers and Ivo Basterda, who will all go up against each other in the next qualifying heat. So somebody's going to have to take 3 points. Somebody's going to have to take 2. And one of them is going to take the win. So it's going to be very interesting to see who comes through on the top spot. Anything could happen. So a very important victory and a very good one from Guillaume Bouzard in front of Alexander Bogunovic and Santino Panetta. Timofey Mikhailov and Mies Huben, a great job from the Dutchman. Augustin Sepulveda in 6th place from Dinos Torescu and Nando Weichselbaumer. Then Arthur Dorisson and Joel Pajola round out the top 10. Luca Horton and Megamu Suzuki are next up from Batı Yildirim and the Armenian talent Daniel Dalakian. Alina Rolfson in front of Robert Pamalis. Then Henry Jocelyn ahead of Ishan Madesh. They were the only finishers of the race. There were plenty of retirements, unfortunately. Luis Sedeno, Hadi Mamasi and Alexander Deshkov. And on the very first lap, before the race even began, we lost Ethan Thorne and Ruben Dovalle to problems on the formation lap. And Matilda Pats was sadly unable to take the start. So fascinating racing from the drivers in the Academy Trophy, Groups C and D. Apologies and commiserations to those drivers who have not been able to make the final. A reminder to them that they need to collect their race licenses and return their transponders before they leave the circuit, because the next round of the championship is, of course, in September. So you've got to make sure that if you want to get out on track before then, you need to return your transponders and collect your race licenses before